So in today's video, we're going to go ahead and talk about the FAL, which got a buff recently in the 1.08 update in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And it's actually insane how big the buff is. They actually buffed two different parts. First being the recoil, which was a huge issue with this weapon. If you actually tried to use it before the update, if you actually had any kind of trigger finger, the weapon would literally shoot up into the sky. So even though it has an incredibly fast time to kill, most people would never be able to take advantage of it purely because of the recoil. So that was just the first part. They obviously went ahead and also adjusted the ADS time. They went ahead and reduced the overall ADS time by 80 milliseconds, which is approximately 5 frames on console. So now we've had a chance to look at that. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the overall damage profile. This weapon does 54 damage up to about 22.5 meters. It'll do 45 damage all the way up to about 40 meters. Then everything beyond 40 meters will do approximately 34 damage. And the FAL actually has an interesting headshot multiplier. Up in that closer range, it does 72 damage. And then when it gets into that second range, it still does 72 damage. And then everything beyond that 40 meters, it drops off to 55 damage. So I know that's just a bunch of numbers, but that ends up translating into the number of shots to kill. And then once you combine that with the overall rate of fire, you're going to go ahead and end up getting the time to kill. So pretty much how it'll work is it's always going to be 2 to 3 shots to kill. Up close, it doesn't really matter if you land a headshot or not. It'll be 2 shots to kill. When you get in the medium ranges, it'll be 3 shots. But if you manage to land 1 headshot, it'll drop that time to kill down by 1 shot. And then at the furthest ranges, it's always going to be 3 shots to kill unless you manage to land 2 consecutive headshots. So it's looking like the rate of fire is trigger capped on the FAL at about 600 rounds per minute, which gives you a 2-shot time to kill of about 100 milliseconds and a 3-shot time to kill of about 200 milliseconds. And those will end up being some of the fastest times to kill in the entire game, and definitely some of the fastest in the rifle category. So even though I think the buff was definitely necessary to improve that overall recoil, I don't think it's enough to make this gun overpowered. I think if it had absolutely no recoil, it would just beam at all ranges. You'd be able to melt every single thing. But by still having a little bit of recoil, then make it so it's a little bit of a higher skill weapon. So more often than not, it's going to be a lot harder to use if you have trouble handling recoil. That being said, what I'm going to do is go ahead and give you some key items to pay attention to when you're actually building a class setup for this weapon. You can literally gear everything towards recoil control, which would definitely help you out. But then you're going to have a slower aim down sight time. And then you could obviously gear everything towards faster aim down sight time. This will be a little bit harder to manage. So ideally, you'd want the best of both worlds. So I'm actually going to give you 2 different class setups. This first one is the one you're going to actually see in the gameplay, which is the stippled grip, the 18-inch ultralight, the Ranger 4 grip, the compensator, and I just happen to be using that Viper reflex sight. So that's the one we see featured within the gameplay, which is actually a pretty amazing gameplay that we're going to go ahead and walk through in a little bit. But a couple weeks ago, I went ahead and put together best class setups for every rifle in the rifle category, and the best class setup I came with for the FAL at that time was the holographic sight, a compensator, the XRK marksman barrel, the Ranger 4 grip, as well as the rubberized grip tape. And personally, I think both are pretty good class setups, but obviously one you have to level up a lot more to actually get all those different various attachments. So that's going to go ahead and cover the FAL best class setup. If you can go ahead and leave me a comment down below of the next weapon you'd like to see a best class setup for. And if you've enjoyed the video or found it helpful in any way, do me a favor for hitting that like button. If you'd like to find your way back for more Call of Duty news, content, best class setups, whatever the case is, go ahead and make sure you do subscribe with notifications on. So now we're going to actually transition to my favorite part of the video, which is actually combining the how with the what. Obviously we have the class setup, which is the what. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about how to use it, which is very often the most neglected part in terms of actually making Call of Duty content. So obviously within the gameplay, I'm adapting to the playstyle of the game, which is a little bit more passive, a little bit slower, and especially when you have a semi-automatic weapon, you're typically going to want to play it a little bit even more passive, just because that hipfire range is not all that forgiving. So right here, what I'm doing is just trying to listen for audio cues. You see my teammates running in here. He ends up getting engagement. I take this guy out, and then I end up taking out the other guy, and then I'm 1 kill off of getting that chopper gunner. So right now, I'm thinking I'm in a good spot. I just reloaded with those stopping power rounds. I'm hearing this guy come around the side, and then I kind of peek out. You'll go ahead and see as I go ahead and do this movement. Just listening. I see a guy on the right, seeing if I can go ahead and take him out. Unfortunately, I didn't get that kill. And then I go ahead and peek out. The guy was already pre-aiming, and then I end up getting destroyed. And more often than not, especially in this Call of Duty over any other Call of Duty, whoever is pre-aiming is almost always going to win the gunfight. So that was just a little bit of bad COD timing. If I happened to peek out like 2 seconds sooner while he was still in full sprint, I would end up taking him out. So it's just kind of one of those trade-offs. I end up wasting my stopping power rounds, but now I'm going to push up on this right side. I called in that VTOL jet, so now it's going to kind of hover around that part of the map, and then as soon as I get the option to kind of move it towards me, I end up doing that. And I end up running across here, and I couldn't really slide to cover quick enough, so I ended up getting another easy death there. And something to keep in mind is for the rest of the match, I'm not going to incur another death, but I still managed to get like another 25-30 kills before the match is over. So I'm pushing up on the right side, seeing if I can get an angle, and then I just go ahead and push straight on through. I was expecting someone more in the window, but luckily I was able to catch that guy and take him out, and then inevitably someone does end up being in the window. As I end up going to move around this side, the guy does end up hitting me. I'm basically one shot. I'm waiting for my health to come out. I see where the guy's at, and that is by far one of the hardest gunfights to win when you're using a semi-automatic weapon that has just a little bit of recoil, because it ends up kicking the weapon up. You can see I'm pushing forward right here, and then I'm going ahead and just take the guy out. He still ends up sitting in the corner. I end up getting hit by a claymore. No big deal. Most people don't end up moving in this game. Very often you can kind of cut people off because they're not expecting anyone to move. Put a claymore to cover my back, and then now I'm going to go ahead and pre-aim into the spawns. In case you guys didn't know, pretty much everyone is going to spawn at the far left building or over in the C area. See, there's a lot of people over there by the trench that they're pushing through out of that building. I try to peek a couple guys there. Teammates covering that window, I stay away from him. Looks like he got naded, and I'm expecting an enemy to come through. So there's a lot going on in this particular moment. One of my teammates is over there ruining the spawn because you can see he's over there sitting at C, which makes it difficult, and it forces a lot of the enemies to push towards the middle of the map. And ideally on this map, you want to go ahead and try and lock down this building and the building on the opposite end, depending on where the enemies are going to be spawning at. Right here, I like holding down this building because you get a lot of sight lines. You can kind of see what's going on with the enemies, and it is a quote-unquote power position. And in case you guys aren't familiar with what a power position is, it's a position that gives you a lot of the leverage within the vast majority of the gunfights, because you're typically in an elevated position, limited entry points, and then it also allows you to get a good sight line into where enemies will be spawning at that have to walk right in the open where you can get an easy kill, whereas they have to pick you off a head glitch. And there are a lot of people in the comments section that will probably call this camping, which in my opinion, it's kind of camping a specific area, and then I move to another area and kind of camp that one, move to another area and kind of camp that one. And that's kind of what Modern Warfare is about. Unfortunately, that is the specific game design. I know the guy's upstairs, that's why I'm crouch walking all the way up there, so he can't hear me and pre-aim. He probably has a 725 pre-aimed on this doorway, so it's a risk even moving this close next to him. And I'm just trying to peek it out, see what's going on. I end up getting another claymore kill there. Once I spot the guy, I end up realizing that he does not have a good shot. Look at how long he fires the weapon. So I know he's a little bit of a lower skilled player. Most players don't just spray and pray for their entire magazine. So luckily I've bided enough time, so now I can actually use dead silence. So what you're going to use is me proc the dead silence, and now I'm able to run in there. I know he's not going to move because people in this game, they just don't move. Odds are they're going to be in the exact same spot they've been in the entire game. I push it, take him out, end up taking him out in 2 shots because I have those stopping power rounds. There's an example of what I was talking about. Guy is clearly in the open. I'm going to go ahead and call in my VTOL. And that kind of serves as a mini UAV. You can see when it passes where the enemies are, I go ahead and jump out, take that aggressively. Since I've gotten my streaks, it doesn't really matter what I do at this point. I could completely die. Since there isn't streak cycling, meaning the ability to actually call in multiple of the exact same streak within the same life, there is really no point on elongating that life any further. See, right now they're able to jump on B. I had a VTOL up. You can see my enemies are all kind of scattered around the map. But as I'm up here, you're going to see my team easily move up and reclaim the B flag. So you can see right here, pretty much all of them are getting shut down. There are a few on this side of the map, but as soon as those ones get taken out, you're going to see that pretty much all of them are funneled in this back C spawn, as well as that corner house spawn. And that's something to be aware of when you actually come out of the chopper gunner, because then you're going to want to know, okay, did I miss anyone? Is someone going to come up and flank behind me? If everyone is dead on this side of the map, then you're almost guaranteed that all the enemies will be in one section or another. So right now I know everyone's right here on the left, and I know everyone's right here on the right. My team just went ahead and triple cap, so almost all the enemies are going to be in this corner side. So as I come up, you can see I push around, I go ahead and peek that side really quick. It looks like some of them are coming around, so I go ahead and jump back in the building because, again, that's the power position. And even though the match seemed kind of close, the result of me calling in those streaks allowed me to completely take over the match. You can see my teammates are kind of pre-aiming windows that don't even make sense. We know all the enemies are in this corner and in that back right corner. So pretty much that's all I'm doing. I didn't end up even seeing that guy on the map. So what I end up doing is taking a different angle. I get my stopping power round, and you're going to see how quick this guy dies. If I remember right, I believe he dies in 1 bullet. I know there's the guy on the left. I'm going to leave him alone for a bit, and then I end up taking that guy out 1 shot. And then right here, for whatever reason, I could not hit this guy off the head glitch. I guess I could have mounted, but I didn't want to leave myself immobile. So I end up kind of giving up on that gunfight, especially since that enemy counter UAV is messing with my reticle. So I decided to back off. I kind of pre-aim this area because I know enemies are going to be flooding back through here because this is the area they have to kind of push through. It's either right here or on the far right side out the window. End up taking that guy out, move around to this right side, jump out, and end up taking up a couple more kills. Take out the first one there. Try and jump up on this box and try and jump across, which this jump is a little bit hard to make. I've only made it about half the time. Fall down, end up getting 2 more kills. So I ended up going 52-3, kind of finished the match on a pretty long streak. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please remember to hit that like button. If you're brand new to the channel and like to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, make sure you do subscribe with notifications on. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.